Oh wonder! How many goodly creatures are there here! How beauteous mankind is! O brave new world! That has such people in't.
Miranda, upon realizing there is a world beyond the island, and that she will go to live there after the events of The Tempest. Thanks for coming back for part 2. Is the world getting flipped upside down or right side up? We are considering the meaning of sea change from The Tempest and how President Trump is like a type of Prospero. What a week! Let's dive back into it. But before we do, if you haven't checked out our pitch deck and white paper, please do. They are free to review here in this Substack. We appreciate the recent support, but we are not a conspiracy theorist newspaper. We are something else, and you have to start somewhere. We have a plan to restore the soul and purpose of journalism. Please check out our long-term vision and subscribe to learn about our plans in Web 3.5. As always, thank you for your time and consideration. See the sea change. Last time we began to unpack the Shakespearean notion of a sea change in light of President Trump's return to power, and how he might radically alter everything we think we know, like Prospero did for his daughter, Miranda, in The Tempest. Further, we addressed how Shakespeare's The Tempest is like an Elizabethan version of The Matrix, where reality is hidden and must be uncovered, and the characters exist in epic struggles in order to uncover it. Throughout literature, protagonists try to have an authentic experience by existing in actual reality. Their struggles, ironically envied by us who wish to be tested in like ways, are often truer to us than our own stories, because the struggle against the false veil has always been there for all of us from the dawn of recorded history to now. Whether it's Plato's allegory of the cave or metamorphoses from Ovid or more contemporary stuff like The Tempest, Paradise Lost or The Matrix, the theme has always been there waiting for those who aspire to breathe the air of the highest heights of literature, who understand the value not just of science, but of the history of science. A secret on a mountaintop too few experience, that rings true for every valley of human life. Those who have made it to the summit have told others about the climb and the view. Part of understanding the truth about our lives, and of all life pertaining to the law of biogenesis, all life comes from life. Biology rule number 1 is that every step in our journey to this moment of exponential technological growth has been one small step for a man, one giant leap for mankind. Or in the language of stories, no man is an island. We are all interconnected in radical ways across the stories of our lives. When we think our lives are our story, it is just that ours. None of us ever really go it alone. Even if all you have is the stories, they will connect you to someone across time when space can't abide. Don't underestimate the idea of our togetherness and oneness either. The notion is as the future of our economic future, and may be coming to our marketplaces soon in radical ways. Our stories hold within them the truths and lies of times before us, but even the lies tell the truth if we understand how to absorb the story's lessons. In maths they call it a proof by contradiction or reductio ad absurdum. If we search for inspiration hard enough, and learn how to understand how the important stuff has been colloquialized, we can begin to peer beyond the veil of what we perceive to be our everyday lives through our stories to find the way of life. The meaning of life is, after all, one of the age-old questions all our stories are supposed to be about, right? Certainly a newspaper dedicated to covering events through the lens of exponential technological growth understands, at the least, that the meaning of life itself stands to be redefined during this time period leading up to the technological singularity. Aren't we indeed already questioning our own purposes and meanings as AI takes all of our jobs over the next half-decade during the so-called transition period? If there is a veil to our experience of life, maybe these times we are living through are making us aware of it more. Maybe the internet is why we can see it and past generations couldn't. Regardless, now we have begun to wonder what is on the other side. To wonder what is going on. To wonder what all the stories mean from our vantage point at the end of history. Leonardo from Vinci, son of Piero, a dude from Vinci, perhaps put it best. Perhaps the vigor and intrigue of the Italian Renaissance, as exemplified by Da Vinci, is why Shakespeare chose to set The Tempest there a century later, after the ideas of the 15th and 16th centuries had spread to Europe during the 17th. Maybe it means that Shakespeare wanted us to think about how humanity rises and falls into dark ages, as individuals do, and how that allows us to rediscover the true struggle against the veil to an authentic path. Like the characters in our stories, like the heroes of our myths, we connect our struggles to theirs and we make their strengths our own. To keep going. To keep climbing in our careers. To run the race of our faith. To insert motivational individualism here. Whatever it may be, this is the part that becomes metaphysical, where who we are as a person in a struggle connects us to everyone who has ever struggled, and we all feel it. And in the heart of someone in a wheelchair they can understand the pain, exhaustion and enthusiasms of a marathon runner. Someone weak can feel strong, and that indeed makes them more so. And after generations of being surprised at how weak the strong can be and how strong the weak can be, we have thus chosen that what we shall respect of one another most is what is on the inside. It is what truly matters, and we know that in part because of the stories from our human family, if not our nuclear one. This is profound, for if God is real and sent His Son to us, the very gospel of Jesus Christ is designed to work in just this way. Let the redeemed of the Lord tell their stories. By His grace we are walking testimonies. This is the sacred fire that we as people pass from one to another. Our inspirations. Our lessons. Our stories. Often it comes from people who we never expect to find it from. The wildness of the web of humanity surprising us over and over again throughout our lives until we learn to expect it. The legacy of these stories, and understanding their power in our lives, is perhaps why President Trump has been able to garner more than support and create a movement. He has tapped into the emotional reservoirs within the masses, within the stories, within his audience. He has found his part in our story, and now our question must be, is he writing it or merely taking part in it? Why does there seem to be a historical spotlight on him being president again? There is still more than a week before he is sworn in again, and already he has postured nearly half the hemisphere as new land acquisitions for the United States of America, and made a lot of sense in doing so. Although to say it so plainly almost hurts journalistically because of how truly extraordinary the man's journey to his second term has been. Just try to remember all of the absolutely insane things that have happened recently involving President Trump. This is one of the ways President Trump is like a Prospero. From afar, it seems as though he has orchestrated a storm and crashed us all onto his beach. And now we are rediscovering the story we are in. Like the characters on King Alonso's ship traveling to Naples, President Trump has rerouted our voyage. But how? But why? Wasn't President Trump the one who used to be an oddball B-list businessman celebrity who never seemed to fit into the real game of the world, remember? Remember when it was so obvious that he would never be president, because everyone knew he would have been laughable as a presidential figure and used the office to his own advantage? Remember? Like Prospero, President Trump has used the schemes of his adversaries to form masterstrokes of his own political excursion to not just defeat his enemies, but to redefine their objection to him. To bend their will to his. Like Prospero, President Trump exerts soft power through an art-of-the-deal-esque leadership style where it is easier to join him than fight him, even apparently making President Obama coups in public recently. People love this type of stuff. It's a story we know well. It's Rudy. It's Rocky. It's the 1980 U.S. hockey team. Do you believe in miracles? Everyone loves an underdog. All great underdogs share this one trait. They remind us of the true nature of the game being played and how its shape, rules, principles and precepts impose a governing dynamic superseding reputation, skill, or strategy. Where adherence to the dynamic is what is understood to bring one victory or defeat. It's how Perseus beat Medusa. It's how David beat Goliath. And it's how Prospero got his groove back too. Some of the magic is due to probability. Some is due to possibility. But like a kickoff return for 109 yards, underdogs can use strict adherence to the rules of reality to sneak up on you sometimes. Especially when it seems they can't. Prospero underdog. In the social sciences, LOL, especially in network theory, A phenomenon that reaches a critical mass is called a tipping point. We all know what a tipping point is. Whether or not we appreciate how President Trump has, like Prospero, brought our ship of society to its tipping point may be irrelevant at this point. The first 2 weeks of 2025 have been, well, they'd be enough to remember for years if year-level insanity wasn't seemingly being packed into weeks and months and days regularly these days. Any guesses about week number 3? So is President Trump more than just a president? Are his presidencies about more than just his time as president? Is President Trump's life, especially the past decade, explainable by his strict adherence to a type of governing dynamic that is now being played out in front of us? In view, a humble vaudevillian veteran, cast vicariously as both victim and villain by the vicissitudes of fate. Except this is President Trump, so. In thought, a trivial thespian, thrust temporarily as both target and tyrant by the twists of time. This tint, no mere trace of triviality, is a testament of the throng's tone, now tarnished, torn. Though this tenacious trek through a time-worn trouble now thrums with tenacity, and has taken to toppling these treacherous and troublesome tormentors, trampling truth and tolerating the terribly tyrannical and turbulent transgressions of will. If V was for vendetta, perhaps T Rump is for truth. The closer we get to his second term, it seems as though more and more people, especially on social media, are sounding like the two detectives in the film that made the Guy Fawkes mask famous. Sea Change explained. In part 1 we discussed how being President of the United States sometimes matters less, and sometimes it matters more. To that we now add how this is because presidential terms are like rogue waves in politics. When a president's ambitions coincide with movements across society more broadly, the waves can resonate and amplify one another. President Trump has used every moment, even the seconds after being shot, to bring our waves into a common resonance. So once again we must ask, is President Trump riding the waves of social discontent into the White House, or has he created a plan to bring us along to this point by design? How much risk is he prepared to assume in order to get us to take him at his word about a shadow 5 gigawatts conflict against a deep state actor? Or is President Trump simply a master wave surfer who understands how to posture himself to maximum benefit through his use of soft power? Hard power, a punch to the face, or whatever is easy enough to understand, but the subtleties of soft power are a classy art form few can pull off successfully. It does make you wonder if we have been watching a master class in power. As an aside to all of this, a systems theorist refreshingly named Stafford Beer might have taken a crack at trying to deduce if President Trump has, or is part of, a Prospero-type plan using his cybernetician theory of Posewood, which stands for the purpose of a system is what it does. A guy like Beer might say, President Trump is not actually trying to run for president. Being president is just a part of what he is needing to do because he is actually doing X, Y, Z, as evidenced by X, Y, Z. And these days there certainly is a lot of X, Y, Zs. 3 types of waves seem to be imminent, and the Cs are changing. Wave X, radical changes and big moves cause he's the man. The first wave President Trump may send our way is Wave X. These are the seemingly regular things we can imagine he might expose. We can all see where the GME GameStop thing is going. Huge financial institutions cannot close out trades from years ago because they have been caught making trades off the books, selling stocks that didn't exist. It's called naked short selling. And there's a clock ticking on that stuff, putting an enormous amount of pressure on the entire financial sector. So there's likely going to be international fiscal foolery and insanity incoming. Further, a short list of who's who in state attorney generals have signed up to sue some of these same financial institutions, the big ones, over climate change market manipulation. So there's that which could also be exposed. Not that people shouldn't love the world and the environment, but more along the lines of Princeton University's William Happer and MIT's Richard Lindzen's points of view. After all, these guys are the experts. One's a professor emeritus of physics and the other is also professor emeritus of atmospheric science. Experts is yet another thing that could also be revealed to the world as a societal hoax, especially with the death of the legal frameworks for Chevron deference.
From Harvard to Stanford, it hasn't been good recently for people pushing certain points of view. Scholarship is a thing regardless of your level. And the rules of the game are mentioned above. There could be shocking revelations in Wave X. Cryptos in this wave, with President Trump's World Liberty Financial putting a spotlight back on Ethereum. Which is also refreshing for a platform that has done a lot without doing anything. The Greenland, Panama, Canada, Gulf of Mexico stuff is in here redefining maps. Maybe President Trump's ambitions and national security concerns to absorb the rest of North America into the United States will now also extend perhaps to influential crypto high ground like the Bitcoin blockchain. After all, Major Jason Lowery USSF has shown why this might be necessary, since Bitcoin can impose physical constraints on enemies via proof of work in cyberspace the way a tank does on the ground, or a plane does in the sky, etc. Daylight savings time, goodbye to fixed time. World-changing stuff, but kind of regular stuff. We've all lived through Wave X type stuff before. Or know the stories. Epic. But we get coffee and talk about how epic it is. Ukraine. Israel. Russia. China. Doge. This is Wave X. Wave Y, exposing corruption like you wouldn't believe, cause the world is complicated. If there is a Wave X, then we shouldn't be surprised if these waves are coming in sets. Wave X is likely to be followed by Wave Y, unless the stock market is fake. Just so people can get super rich and eat melon on boats. There would likely be a reason for such high-level crimes. We've seen high-level crime in nearly every arena of life now. But never the type that President Trump might be about to expose in politics. What if we learn bad things about our history or leaders which rewrite our understanding of history? Of our lives? We've seen what a super corrupt CEO looks like. We're learning more about people like Puffy Diddy. Sorry. P. Daddy. Sorry. P. Diddy? Sorry, just Diddy. But did he? So is it time for our shadows to enter politics? Surely politics isn't corrupt, right? I mean, I know it is, but not like that, right? Right. A lot of what might come out in Wave Y redefines Wave X. Like maybe the stuff about Biden's son and Ukraine redefines the Ukraine war. Shocking Wave Y Wave X combo wave. Rouge wave status. Bitcoin is owned by the CIA and NSA because the entire crypto bubble for 20 years has been a government op financial warfare. Helicopter money crypto from the government to your phone to save the global economy. Ripple and XRP have a secret purpose. The SEC is some kind of straight up un-American swamp. Maybe stuff about COVID is in Wave Y too. 5 gigawatts going back to the Balfour Declaration. Fort Bragg. JFK. Sports are fake. Celebrities are fake. The media is fake. CIA and Hollywood. CIA and Wall Street. CIA and Toys R Us? Drones flying around New Jersey. 51 high-ranking intelligence officials and the lie of President Trump's collusion working for Russia against the United States. The World Health Organization. The NIH. The United Healthcare Assassination. Obama. Hillary. If Wave Y exists, this is what it might look like. The answers to the riddles of your angry dad about politics in America from 30 years ago. The reasons for some of the things that have moved the world over the course of our lives. What a world and a time we have been living in. I'm starting to feel like Miranda now. But also maybe really amazing stuff like the real history of Antarctica, if there is a veil between whatever scientists do there now and what happened after World War II. And if there's a Wave Z, we are going to need someone beyond ourselves to help tell it. We're going to need a Prospero. Because if Wave Z exists, it will reshape our planet and our civilization. Maybe what we need to make sense of all this data is a story. But as we've learned, a story can be true or false. Wave Z, exposing corruption like we can't actually believe is even true, cause the truth is stranger than fiction. The Adam and Eve story. Plate crust displacement. Polar shift. UFOs, aliens, Nikola Tesla and President Trump's uncle at MIT with the FBI. The New Yorker Hotel. Ingersoll Lockwood. Barron Trump's marvelous underground journey. The Last President. Raindrop. Looking glass. Our religions and technologies and consciousnesses. The Q Gospel LOL. As quickly as we have our paradigms and memories rewired for a cybernetic future, we suddenly understand how this would make President Trump some kind of lifelong government agent, or something. Maybe his daughter is secretly a commander in a secret space force. It means Atlantic City was his psyop to take down the mob with his failed casinos. What does that make The Apprentice? A tactical broadcast? That's just too insane to believe. Waves, he can't be possible, can it? Like, the guy will never even be president, it's ridiculous. Or everything else is. Oh wonder.